Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Thursday, December 22nd, a couple days before Christmas, almost Christmas Eve. Listen, guys, I got news about things that are happening in Russia right now really quickly, things that are happening that are not good. Well, you know that NATO, now that Russia's moving into Ukraine, if Russia can take Ukraine easily, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's not rocket science. They're going to want more if they can move into Ukraine rather easily. And so what do you consider hard for Russia? What do you consider easy for Russia? You know, Russia's got a tremendous military. And, yeah, they've taken a lot of losses. But Russia seems to be used to taking a lot of losses and continue to keep coming. Wave after wave after wave. And why do I say that? Well, take a look at this article. Let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here. It says the Russian military is to reach 1.5 million. Putin vows to win in Ukraine. They're setting a hard stance. They really want Ukraine. They want to take the country by force. And of course, NATO does not want to allow them to take Ukraine. And they just vowed another, they had Zelensky go to Washington. And they want another, I think it's 45 billion more. And they want more arms and more equipment and everything else to try to keep Russia out of Ukraine. And this is a war that is morphing into something much bigger now at this point. Dare I say World War III? And unless something comes to break this situation, I don't really see things changing. And things are on a certain course right now. And they're leading towards something really big and really, really powerful within this war scenario. It says Moscow, Russia on Wednesday announced an ambitious plan to beef up its military from 1 million to 1.5 million and create multiple new units in an attempt to bolster the forces that have lost momentum and many soldiers in the war in Ukraine. Push for a bigger force. Russia's defense minister Sergei Shoigu announced Wednesday that the country needs a force of 1.5 million to guarantee the fulfillment of tasks to ensure Russian security. So, there you have it. And that basically amounts to an expansion of the war in Ukraine. And not an expansion toward Russia's gaining momentum. And possibly a new offensive, you know. Anyway, I'm just saying possibly. I'm not saying a new offensive. I'm saying possibly a new offensive. At any rate, we're slowly but surely marching toward someplace we don't want to go. But what's the off-ramp? Russia's not willing to give up territories like Crimea, and Ukraine is not willing to give up territories like Crimea. They want Crimea back. And so the West cannot allow, or they won't allow Russia to start to move into territories formerly held by the former Soviet Union. Areas like Poland. In fact, all the way up in the former Soviet Union held territories all the way up was at East Germany and so on. I mean, they held territories, Romania, a lot of these territories that are now NATO countries were held by the former Soviet Union. And they want to expand out. NATO can't allow that. And on the other side of that coin, Russia can't allow NATO to station possibly nuclear-tipped missiles pointed at Moscow right in Ukraine. I mean, this whole thing is like one side can't allow certain things because that tantamounts to the Cuban Missile Crisis. If they station missiles, back in the Cuban Missile Crisis, they wanted to station missiles in Cuba that could reach America in no time. Well, this would be the same thing if they stationed missiles in Ukraine. Now, Patriots are missiles, but I'm not talking about Patriots. I'm talking about if Russia were to withdraw from that region, they would probably want to put nuclear weapons or nuclear-tipped weapons in Ukraine. If Ukraine became a NATO member country. And so what this is you've got an area here where both sides, East and West, are contending. And we're in a nuclear age. This is a recipe for disaster. And it's heating up. And Russia is not backing off. Anyway, silver price today. It's down 31 cents at 23.63. Basically, I guess what I'm telling you guys is all the things that all the things that everybody cares about and everything else. Excuse me a second. All the things that everybody cares about and everything that makes up your life. All the little nuances. Things like, honey, do I have any shaving cream today? No, sorry, okay, run to the drugstore and get some shave. Things like that. All the little things that make up your life could be changed in a moment. The things that you really care about, like, I want a new pair of slippers or whatever. These are all insignificant little things that don't really matter that much. You learn what really matters a lot if we were to have a nuclear war. You'd suddenly learn what really matters, what life really is about. You know, and right now, I mean, your world would be turned upside down. And what can I say? I mean, that's if you survive it. And most people would survive it. The problem is for how long can you survive it? Because you're going to be living in a world where there is basically a survival type world, you know. And so we got this financial system out there right now that's slowly churning away, and it's heading toward a disaster too. So there's two disasters in the making. Now, one disaster may or may not happen. The nuclear war thing, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys, hey, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. No, anything could happen. There's an old saying, many a slip twixt cup and lip. And it means the guy's got like a glass of wine, he's lifting it up to his mouth, you know. And a succulent looking wine, he's going to have a nice sip of it. And all of a sudden he spills it all over himself. And he hasn't got nothing left in the cup. And many a slip betwixt the cup and the lip. Well, this is the way with the war, you know. Anything could happen. They might come to some sort of a peace arrangement, or maybe a nuclear weapon will fall. And anything could happen. Maybe the people of Earth will not stand for that. And maybe they'll tell the world leaders, once the nuclear bombs start to really go off, they may say to the world leaders, no, stop this madness. In a significant way. And believe me, they listen to the people. When the people are really mad, and they're all in unison, they listen to the people at that point. Because they know that if they don't listen then, they're in big trouble. Because they are only appointed by the people. And when all of the people are like in unison saying, no, stop this madness. We don't want to be blown up. We don't want our kids blown up. We don't want our kids irradiated. Sorry. I remember in Cyprus, years ago, the banking system tried it on with the people of Cyprus. They said, hey, you know what? We're going to rob a certain percentage of your money out of your bank accounts. All these people, and they didn't have much money. They didn't have much money in the bank, but they're going to rob it. Right across the board, they were going to take a certain percentage of what they call a haircut. It was called a bail-in for the bank. It was the first time it was ever tried. And the people of Cyprus unanimously said no. And they said, okay, okay. They backed off then. They backed off and they said, okay, you know what? We'll just take it from the rich oligarchs and the rich people. And we won't bother your account if your account is under 100,000 euros. Or I think of 50,000 euros. So the smaller people, right? And then the people were okay because they knew they weren't going to get robbed by the bankers. But they were trying. They're just like, do you know how kids will try on the parents. They'll do something, they look back at the parents and they say to themselves, am I going to get in trouble for this? And if it's no, then they'll do it. And then they'll look back and they'll do something bigger, and they keep going bigger and bigger. They keep upping the ante. Well, these politicians are the same way. Now we're getting down to the point where they've tried things on. The people have let them get away with all this stuff. We're down to the point now where they're going to blow the people up. They're going to blow all of you up. Unless the people say no. So they've tried it on. They've got away with raising the taxes. They've got away with giving you massive inflation. They've got away with raising gasoline prices. They've got away with, it goes on and on and on, the stuff they've got away with now. And the final one is to blow all of you up. The question is, will you let them? And I mean, that answer, I don't know what the answer to that is. Maybe people will say, okay, fine. Which country's first to launch this first strike business? Well, Russia launched a first strike, and of course we'd have to respond. And then, of course, they'd have to respond back. And the next thing you know, the world is a big cinder. Now, there is a big danger that they could get in there and do that ahead of the people saying, no, don't do that to us. And then in that case, everybody's going to get blown up. Or a lot of the people. And the people that aren't blowing up, which is probably a good percentage of the people are not blowing up, well, you're not going to have any power, you're not going to have any internet, you're not going to have anything. Trucks can't run. So that means the grocery stores are going to be just basically looted in the first few days. So if you can you're going to have to walk to your grocery store, by the way. You're not going to be able to ride in your car because the fuel stations are going to be down, no fuel. So say you walk there and you want to get some groceries because you're really hungry. What are you going to find when you get there? You're going to find the windows have been smashed out, the door's been kicked in. All the aisles, all the stuff's been pulled off the aisles, and there's nothing left. It's been stripped clean. You might find a can of Lysol spray over in the corner or something like that. Even that might be gone. There might be a few grains of rice on the floor, or spilled rice or something on the floor where somebody spilled a bit and they didn't pick it up. So if you're smart, you'll go over there and scoop up whatever's left. Maybe a bit of spilled oatmeal. Smell it first before you eat it, because it might have some laundry detergent in it or something. But that'll be your dinner, unless you put some food away for yourself. And you need to put away probably the worst if they blow us up. And I say they blow us up because we're not going to blow ourselves up. We don't want to blow ourselves up. It's our leaders that's going to blow us up if they can get the chance. And I mean, that's up to them. That's up to the people. I don't have any say in it. They're going to do what they're going to do. I'm just telling you what they're going to do. And you haven't figured it out yet for some reason. They're going to war now, and the war keeps escalating and keeps escalating. In the end, it's going to escalate to the point where they start to blow everything up. So it starts to come to you. And so far, it hasn't come to you. I don't know where you're at. Unless you're in Ukraine right now, and most of you listening are probably not in Ukraine. If I got a guy in Ukraine right now this morning listening to me, well, comment in the comment section. Please tell me, hey, I'm in Ukraine. The war's already to me. But most of you guys out there you're not gonna say, hey, the war's come to me already, because it hasn't got to you yet. But by damn, it can spread to you. Because that's the nature of war. It's a tit-for-tat thing. It's the stupidest game ever where these world leaders out there decide that I'm going to do this to him, and then he's going to do that back to me, and then I'm going to do that back to him. And they got control over the people, and the people listen to them, and they tell the people, here's a gun, go out there and fight. And then the other guy, the other world leader, he tells them, here's a gun, go out there and fight. Now you saw all these world leaders together, few years ago, all happy, patting each other on the back, having dinner together, and eating off of your tax-paying dollars, eating their big dinners and $1,000 a plate dinners and stuff. And Putin was right in there with all of them, patting each other on the back, smiling, laughing, and giggling, drinking their wine and champagne, until they started this war. And then a madness spreads amongst the world leaders. And they decide what they're going to do then. They're going to fight one another for land and try to grab land this way or that way. Once they get going at this, they got these animalistic instincts that come out in them, where they won't stop. It's almost like when they used to have fights where they'd fight, dogs would fight and stuff, and stuff, all that. It's the same thing, once they get that instinct to fight, and they just keep that going. It's called war. It's the silliest thing ever. It's mass stupidity. It's almost like during wartime, all kinds of things happen that normally wouldn't happen in peacetime around the world. Atrocities. Atrocities. And it's just ridiculous. People running around. It's almost like, if you looked at it nowadays, you can look at it. You can see these films on the internet from these little drones flying over, and you can see these people on the ground, these warriors or whatever, and they're, from that vantage point, they're almost like looking at a bunch of kids playing cowboys and Indians. But it's a silly game where they're playing for real. And I mean, you look at that and you say, is this for real? They're really running around with things like hand grenades and rifles and trying to shoot one another. In peacetime, that would be considered like, what's wrong with them? Is that crazy? But it's kind of like a mass hysteria or a mass craziness that goes around. It's almost like a disease that spreads through their minds. Anyway, that's the way it is, And now we're in a nuclear age. We can't play this game anymore, but we're playing it. So, I mean, you people out there, you better think long and hard about this and how quick this could spread, not just from Ukraine, but to other countries to where you're at. This mass craziness, because it's like a disease. You know how disease can spread? You remember how the Omicron spread around the world in a matter of weeks? This war is the same thing. And it could disappear. They could sign peace treaties and stuff. It'd all disappear overnight. It's just a matter of them sitting around the table. But right now, they don't have any clear-cut path toward peace. So, I mean, I've said enough about this, but I mean, it has to be said, guys. I have to come out here and I have to say it to you guys straight the way it is. And I know it's Christmas time, and I don't like to talk about this during Christmas time, but this won't wait. I mean, you got to pay attention to this situation that's developing over in Ukraine. Meanwhile, we're seeing silver price drop down 31 cents. Now, it's been going up lately. Gold, we're looking at it a nice swoop down of $17.50. So silver hasn't moved down as much as gold today. We're seeing a fall in cryptos too. Let me see, we're looking at 801 right there. Let me refresh the page and see which direction this is going. 800, so it's going down. We're looking at a price of Bitcoin 16,655 and Ethereum at 1190. Dow Jones Industrial Average today, it's off 461 points on the day so far, 32,915. Taking a look at the S&P 500 at 38,006, it's down 71 points on the day. Let's talk about crude oil at 77.68. It's down 61 cents on the day so far. So everything's going down in the markets today. There ain't no Christmas rally this year. I think the big pall over everything right now is that war that's going. It's it's like a gray cloud over top of everything. And of course it's going to be a gray cloud on top of everything. Russia doesn't want to give up, and neither does the West. And they're embroiled in a war that's going to, I don't see it going anywhere but expanding unless they can come to some sort of peaceful arrangement. And, you know, for some of these ones out there who might think, oh, okay, this is our chance. Russia's in a weakened position and everything. You know, this is our chance to come on strong and win. Russia's throwing in everything they got. They're spending 30% on their military, over 30, I think it's 33% or something, or 30% on their military right now. They're expanding their military to 1.5 million men. They're building new weapon systems and stuff. They got them at full production into these nuclear weapons. They're loading and locking their nuclear weapons in the silos, ready to launch at a moment's notice. And they're hypersonic nuclear weapons. They're not your regular nuclear weapons. These are nuclear weapons that can be here in 30 minutes. So, for the warmongers out there who think, okay, we can beat Russia now. Yeah, well, how are you going to do that without losing at least several big cities? Like maybe London or Paris or New York or whatever. You know, with these hypersonic weapons. Because Russia fires off their hypersonic weapons and stuff. Maybe they do have the wherewithal to knock a few of them out of the sky. But I don't think they have the wherewithal to knock all of them. At least a few's going to get through. Think about that for a minute before you jump right in there with your hot heads and think, hey, you know what, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. In other words, what I'm saying here, guys, is somebody's got to give a little bit here in this situation. Either Russia's got to give a little bit, or the West has got to give a little bit to come to some sort of arrangement so that they can stop this. Otherwise, they're just going to keep moving in tighter and tighter and harder until in the end this thing erupts. You know? It's like an infection and in the body of mankind. And I mean, unless you take your antibiotics, I mean, this infection's going to spread. We can see it. It's a massive big red boil in Ukraine, and it's threatening to go to go septic, and the patient go into septic shock. And all of us are going to be involved in this unless something's done to stop this madness. Anyway, U.S. Treasuries today. We're looking at falling yields on the long end. We're looking at a 10-year of 3.66 and a U.S. 30-year at 3.73. Dollar index today at 104.43. And that's it for your markets today. What can I say, guys? I'm not happy with this war situation that's going on right now. And I see it very troubling. This is a very troubling situation. With very determined world leader and world figures. You can see you got, I think that's the Russian's defense minister there, and you got Putin, and they're determined they want to win. Putin vows to win in Ukraine, and Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine, is just as determined that they're not going to have Ukraine, and the West is determined as well. And if you can't see this situation for what it really is, then you've got blinders on. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.